He slapped the cuffs on. She convinced herself no one would question her word, but when she walked into that courtroom, she realized she had made the biggest mistake of her career. Jennifer Caldwell had lived a quiet life for over 6 decades. Her days were structured, deliberate. She wasn't the type to take risks or find herself in the middle of conflict. But none of that mattered when Officer Lou Carter stepped into that small grocery store on a slow afternoon in Greenville, Mississippi. The store was nearly empty. Jennifer had come in for something simple, bread and milk, before heading home. She had just left the self-checkout when she felt it, that sharp, unsettling sense that someone was watching her. "Ma'am, I need you to stop right there." The voice was sharp, authoritative. Jennifer turned, confusion flickering across her weathered features. A uniformed officer stood a few feet away, one hand resting casually on his holstered weapon. "Is there a problem?" Her voice was calm, but edged with concern. Lou Carter's expression was unreadable, but his stance told her he had already made up his mind. "I saw you put something in your bag after scanning a few items. Mind showing me your receipt?" Jennifer furrowed her brow, shifting the paper bag in her arms. "I just paid. You can check the register." Carter's lips pressed into a thin line. "I said, show me your receipt." Jennifer exhaled, reaching into the bag, moving deliberately. She extended the crumpled slip of paper toward him. Carter snatched it and barely glanced at it before shaking his head. "Nice try. Empty your pockets." A few people had turned to watch, their gazes bouncing between them like spectators at a match. Jennifer kept her voice steady. "I don't have anything in my pockets." Carter's patience seemed to snap. Hands against the counter. Jennifer's jaw tightened. She had seen this before. The assumptions, the certainty. It didn't matter what she said. "I told you I didn't take anything." His hand dropped to his radio. "Dispatch, I've got a possible shoplifting suspect resisting compliance." Jennifer exhaled slowly. She was standing still, hands visible, voice calm. None of it mattered. A store clerk, a young woman in a company vest, hesitated before stepping forward. I actually saw her pay for everything." Carter didn't even turn his head. "Stay out of this." Jennifer's heart pounded. She could already see where this was going. "You're making a mistake," she said, voice even. "I have a law degree. I know my rights." Carter let out a short, humorless laugh. "Yeah? Well, you can explain your rights downtown." Before Jennifer could respond, his grip tightened around her wrist. A choice flickered in her mind. She could pull away, demand a supervisor, fight. But she knew how that would end. So she let him. The cold metal of the handcuffs snapped against her skin, sending a ripple of tension through the small store. Carter's grip was firm as he guided her outside. Jennifer caught sight of her reflection in the store's glass doors. She had seen plenty of people in this position before. Now, for the first time, she was one of them. But she knew something Officer Carter didn't. This wasn't going to end the way he thought. The ride to the station was silent, except for the occasional crackle of the radio. Jennifer sat in the back, hands cuffed, staring out at the city as it passed by in a blur. She knew better than to speak. Anything she said would be twisted, misinterpreted, used against her. Carter, on the other hand, seemed at ease. One hand on the wheel, the other near his radio. He had done this before. Probably too many times to count. When they pulled up to the station, he parked with an air of finality and stepped out, opening the back door like he had just reeled in his latest catch. "Let's go." Jennifer didn't resist. She stepped out, head high, jaw set. Inside, officers barely spared her a glance as Carter led her past the front desk. "Shoplifting," he said casually, handing over her wallet and personal belongings to the officer on duty. The officer, a tired-looking man with graying hair, gave Carter a sideways glance. "Serious?" Carter shrugged. "Had to detain her. She was getting hostile." Jennifer clenched her fists. Hostile. She had barely raised her voice. But that word meant something different when it was attached to a woman like her. A younger officer, maybe in his early 30s, flipped through Jennifer's wallet and pulled out a bar association card. His eyes flicked up. "You're a lawyer?" Jennifer exhaled through her nose. "Yes." Carter snorted. "Sure she is." The young officer turned the card over, his eyes narrowing. "She's telling the truth." He looked at Carter. You sure about this charge? Carter's face tightened. She stole from the store. The young officer hesitated, then looked at Jennifer. Ma'am, do you have a lawyer? Jennifer met his gaze. I don't need one. A slow, almost amused smirk crossed the officer's face. He glanced at Carter before handing Jennifer her wallet back. You're going to represent yourself? Jennifer nodded. Absolutely. Carter let out a short, irritated breath and turned on his heel. Fine. Get her processed. Jennifer was led down a hallway past a row of holding cells. She had seen places like this before from the other side. Now she was here, waiting, just like the people she had once defended. She sat on the bench, watching the minutes crawl by. She knew how this worked. They'd hold her for as long as they legally could, try to pressure her into a plea deal. Or worse, let her sit in jail over the weekend to teach her a lesson. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. The door creaked open, and a guard stepped in. You're being arraigned in the morning. Jennifer nodded, her mind already working through the strategy. She wouldn't just prove her innocence. She was going to make sure this never happened to another woman like her again. Carter, though, still thought he had already won. But he was about to find out just how wrong he was. Morning came with the dull clang of metal doors and the heavy shuffle of inmates being moved. Jennifer stood tall as they escorted her into the courtroom, her hands cuffed in front of her, but her gaze unbowed. The judge, an older woman with tired eyes, barely glanced up as she reviewed the docket. Miss Jennifer Holloway, charged with misdemeanor theft, the clerk announced. Jennifer cleared her throat. Your Honor, before we proceed, I'd like to motion for immediate dismissal based on lack of evidence and wrongful arrest. Carter, standing near the prosecution's table, smirked. She stole. We have security footage. Jennifer turned toward him, her voice calm but firm. Play it, the judge sighed. Let's see it. A screen flickered to life, showing grainy black and white footage of Jennifer at the store. She reached into her purse, pulling out her wallet. A second later, a security guard approached her. The footage had no sound, but it was clear she never pocketed anything. Instead, she gestured toward the cashier, who appeared to be ringing up her items. The screen went dark. Jennifer turned to the judge. Your Honor, not only does this video fail to show any theft, but it also proves my innocence. I paid for my items. The only thing I stole was Carter's ability to throw his weight around unchecked. The judge frowned, then turned to Carter. Officer, on what basis was this woman arrested? Carter's jaw tensed. The store manager made a complaint. Jennifer arched an eyebrow. Did they? Or did you pressure them to? She let the silence hang, her words striking like a blade. Because I requested the store's transaction logs, and I have a receipt that matches the exact time of this video. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. The judge rubbed her temple before glaring at Carter. Officer, step forward. Carter hesitated, but the judge's sharp look left no room for refusal. He stepped up, his posture stiff. You detained a citizen without probable cause, the judge said, her voice ice cold. Worse, you tampered with due process. This is beyond negligence. Carter's face paled. Enough. The judge turned back to Jennifer. Miss Holloway, you are free to go. Case dismissed. A collective gasp and scattered applause filled the room as Jennifer straightened her cuffs while the bailiff unlocked them. She picked up her bag and walked past Carter, pausing just long enough to let her next words settle. You tried to silence me. Now, I'll make sure no one else suffers for your power trip. Carter clenched his fists, but he said nothing. His once smug face was now drenched in unease, his carefully built armor of authority cracking in front of everyone. Jennifer smiled, a slow, dangerous curve of her lips. See you soon, Officer Carter. She strode out of the courtroom, feeling the weight of injustice shift just slightly in her favor. But she wasn't done. Not yet. Outside, a throng of reporters waited. The second she stepped through the doors, microphones and cameras turned toward her like metal drawn to a magnet. Miss Holloway, how do you feel about the case being dismissed? Do you plan to press charges against Officer Carter? Jennifer held up a hand, quieting the storm. She took a breath, then spoke with measured intensity. This wasn't just about me. This was about a system that allows people like Carter to abuse their power unchecked. Today, the truth won, but justice? Justice is still waiting. A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd. So yes, I will be filing a civil suit against Officer Carter, and I will be pressing for an investigation into his previous arrests. Because if he did this to me, how many others have suffered in silence? Cameras flashed, voices rose, but Jennifer had already made up her mind. This fight wasn't over. It was only beginning. She turned, stepping down the courthouse stairs, her resolve burning like wildfire, and this time, she wouldn't stop until the whole corrupt system crumbled.